Hello. I'm just waiting to see if I'm actually live because I've been having some technical difficulties. I'm live. Somebody joined. Welcome, everybody. What an exciting, incredible stretch of Talk to the Entities Facebook Lives has this been. I think we just came out of Latin hour or two, which I thought was really fun. Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon. And what an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you. I want to personally thank all of the Talk to the Entities facilitators who came on and did this. I am so blown away and touched and grateful and excited that this is something that gets to live in the world. You never think when you're like a 19-year-old weirdo that hundreds and thousands of people out in the world are going to be inspired by, thanks babe, are going to be inspired by the weird shit that you're capable of. So I'm really grateful to be here with all of you, and welcome to Talk to the Entities Halloween style and Halloween Talk to the Entities style. I always do a Facebook Live at Halloween because really this is the Talk to the Entities holiday, and had a crazy idea, sitting at lunch in Bucharest, Romania one day, actually doing Talk to the Entities beginning class there a few months ago. And I was sitting there with a couple of people and got a crazy idea to do 24 hours of Talk to the Entities Facebook Lives. And I'm so glad that we made it happen. And I really, really, really want to thank my staff for supporting this, for the beautiful women who work with me, who got this off the ground and have been there every step of the way making this happen. Thank you guys so much. So how does it get better than this? I have little to no idea what other facilitators have been talking about. And I know that I've tuned in for a few minutes here and there throughout the day. And we're going to be going for another, how many more hours is it till midnight? If it's 6 right now? 6 more hours. We have 6 more hours. Here we have one of the Talk to the Entity shirts going on behind me. I should have put one on for you guys. Sorry, I was a little bit behind schedule, and I had some technical. And now for my portion of Facebook Live, Max is going to do a Talk to the Entities t-shirt, song, and dance. So cool. So what do you guys want to create? So I love to create with everyone who's here. And so what I would really love is to create a world where we didn't have the separation and division between us and beings who don't show up like normal people. So something that I started getting years into facilitating Talk to the Entities was how many beings exist in our world and how much we basically function as a society with a huge amount of prejudice against. And I had so much freedom from engaging with entities, clearing, communicating, and receiving that I really wanted others to get the kind of freedom that was possible there too. And really, I see that I have succeeded based on what has gone on here today in this Facebook group. Hearing what the other Talk to the Entities facilitators have to say, the clarity that they have, the awareness that they're willing to speak, and each and every one of you who's shown up on this Facebook group for this topic. We had a increase of over 2,000 people into the Facebook group for this, and that's, to me, a good sign that the world is hungry for something different, and that's where you come into place. It's like, if you're here tonight, what do you know? I'm sorry, excuse me, this evening. It's this evening in San Francisco, California. I know it's not tonight for a lot of you guys out there in the world. So if you're here now, what is it you know that you've been pretending not to know or denying that you know, and using all sorts of reasons and justifications to not know? So all the reasons and justifications you've been using to not know, will you destroy and uncreate them, please? Whatever that looks like whatever that takes. Thank you. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Is being aware considered cool and awesome, or is it considered wrong and weird? And how different, if you were willing to acknowledge what you know, how different would that make you from your friends, your family, and all the other people walking around? So how different are you that you never acknowledge? And what if being aware of entities was only a small part of the universe of awareness that's available for all of us? So what treasure and gift of awareness have you refused to acknowledge exists for you? And everything you're doing to refuse, to reject, and to refute the gift that awareness wants to be for you. Will you destroy and uncreate all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So far too long have people used fear as a reason and justification against awareness, and definitely against entities. We were just staying in, sorry, let me get to that story in a minute. So everybody else's fear that you bought in regards to entities that isn't your problem, that was somebody else's problem, do you really want to make that your problem? So everywhere you're making somebody else's fear, resistance, and inability to the spirit world your reality, when it isn't your reality, you destroy and uncreate that. Right and wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And if you no longer had barriers to hearing the voices of those that don't have bodies like ours, to seeing those who don't have bodies like ours, and to knowing those who don't have bodies like ours. How did I start that sentence? I got lost. What would a world be like where we included all beings? And that's really what I'm aiming for now with Talk to the Entities. In the beginning, Talk to the Entities was like my own personal survival mechanism. So I'll tell my story super briefly if any of you guys don't know it. If you've read my book, Talk to the Entities, you know it well. If you haven't read my book, Talk to the Entities, and you're interested in this area, I strongly suggest you check it out. Maybe someone could do me a favor and put a link to the Talk to the Entities book in the chat. It's in, I think, 7 languages, including English, and it will be in Portuguese next year. I was one of those kids that heard voices, saw stuff moving all over the place, you know, and I was really lucky that I grew up in a household with Gary Douglas, who's the founder and creator of Access Consciousness. You guys probably know Gary if you're here. If you don't know Gary and you don't know Access even, I'm really happy that you got here. And we don't live in a world that supports and educates people who have entity sensitivity and entity ability. In fact, what goes on mostly in the world is we medicate and institutionalize people who hear voices, which is a huge invalidation of spirit ability. So everywhere that you've invalidated spirit ability, everywhere that you've allowed anybody else to invalidate your spirit ability, and everywhere that you don't actually want your spirit abilities, will you guys destroy it, uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And I feel like a huge amount of what I did with Talk to the Entities in the very beginning was, it was like, I was either going to die, because that's what happens a lot with people who have a lot of awareness in this reality, is they aren't supported to know what they know. In fact, oftentimes we're told that we're wrong. And we live in a world that does not empower knowing. In fact, we live in a world that's mostly interested in hiding, secreting, and pretending that we don't know. I don't fucking know why, because no one's having a good time. So I sort of got to this point in my early 20s when I was using Access that I came to a threshold where I either had to acknowledge that I was talking to entities. And that's this really interesting logistical phenomenon. Like, people know they're talking to entities and know they're aware of entities, but like they don't believe that they're aware of entities. It's this weird conflict that people function from. It's like, what do you know that you don't believe in? And what do you believe? You know, it's like, so what is it that you know that can now supersede all of the doubt that you've bought from this reality? So all the doubt you're using to limit, to separate from knowing. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And so as a kid, I heard a lot of voices and saw a lot of stuff, and it wasn't anything for me. I thought that's just what reality was. And then as a teenager, I knew somewhere that it was wrong, that it was normal. And I did my best to turn off that awareness in my world. And please be aware that you cannot actually make awareness go away. You can only go, thank you, Anna Jordan, for putting that link there for the Talk to the Entities book. You cannot make awareness go away. You can only go unconscious to it. And the way in which you go unconscious to awareness, or not have to be aware of what you're aware of, is by limiting and eliminating huge parts of your being. And so as a teenager, I was a mess. I was trying to fit in. I wanted to be normal without even really cognitizing that I wanted to be normal, but I knew I wasn't like my friends, and people were not talking about the stuff that was going on in my universe. And I used a lot of drugs, and by the time I was in my late teens, I was suicidal, and I really wanted to kill myself. And Gary, my stepdad, finally kind of tricked me into doing Access. And I hadn't wanted to use Access before then because I didn't want to do like the weird stuff my dad does doing. But I finally started getting my bars run, and I would call him up like in tears, like a mess. And he would, after 20 minutes of talking to me, but what he was actually doing was the beginning of the Access verbal processing. And he would run processes on me like I'm running processes on you guys today. And by the time the conversation was over, I couldn't even remember what I was upset about when I first called him. And so after enough of that, I started realizing like I was getting happier, and I wasn't as depressed, and I didn't want to kill myself as much. And I started choosing and seeking out more Access. And bit by bit, it became clear to me that I desired what Access had to offer. And so I decided to drop out of arts. I was going to art school at the time, and I dropped out of art school, and I was really choosing Access, even though I had no idea what that meant. I was so young. And so I was 21 or something like that, and I was home in my apartment at the time in Southern California, and so many entities filled my house that I literally couldn't see the other side of the room. And it was a small apartment, but I literally couldn't see the other side of the room. And I knew it was ghosts, and I freaked out. And I called my dad, and I was like, oh, my house is full of entities. And he's like, that's great. And I was like, no, it is not great. This is weird. I don't want to be a freak. So everywhere you guys have shut off the gift of awareness to separate, no, let me do this instead. Everywhere you've shut off the gift of awareness, pushed away the gift of awareness, judged the gift of awareness as a way of maintaining normal, average, real, and the same as everybody else, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys and beyonds. And so I forced the ghosts away, the entities away, and I slammed the door shut. And what happens for so many of us is when we perceive an entity or a room full of entities, and we have that like shock reaction, and we like force a barrier up and like slam the door on the awareness, you actually limit what you can receive. And it's so lethal to a being to have barriers. But but having barriers is like what's considered normal. But are barriers normal? Or are barriers actually a sign of a sickness? And so I threw up massive barriers to what I was aware of and didn't think about it again. And I was out at my parents' house 3 months later. And in that 3 months between when my house filled up with ghosts to the point where I couldn't see the other side of the room, and I was at dinner at my parents' house, my life got horrible, like really hard. And I was like bored all the time, and I was really sad, and my body didn't feel good, and I felt really lost. And I'm complaining to my dad, my life, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, what did you refuse to do? And in that moment, I saw and I got that I had refused to talk to the entities. And I saw how detrimental that was to me, and how talking to the entities was a gift and an ability, not a curse. And I had thought it was a curse. So everywhere that you have bought that talking to entities is a curse and is evil or creepy or judgeable in some way, will you revoke, recant, rescind, renounce, denounce, destroy, and create? Everywhere you bought that, everywhere you made that real and true, and everywhere you sold that as real and true? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And so in that moment, standing in my parents' kitchen in Southern California, I think I was 20 or 21, I don't even remember, I said yes to talk to the entities. And I had no idea what it was going to be like. I just knew I had to find out. And so I opened the door. And it took about 7 years of grappling with seas of awareness to develop what we have today, which is the Talk to the Entities curriculum. And what is in the Talk to the Entities beginning class is the absolute 100% how-to guide to deal with all entities in every single way they show up. And it's a phenomenal class. And the thing that's such a trip about it is like literally the manual's this thick. And it's like literally every single tool, process, awareness you need to handle every single ghost that is in the world. And that's because the spirit world isn't this big, mysterious, weird, difficult phenomenon. It's actually quite manageable because it falls into the natural awareness arts. And if you're good at life, you're like good at dealing with entities. If you're not really, if you're like really like horrible communicating with people and you don't want to deal with stuff, you're probably going to be like that with ghosts too. But the thing is, what do you want people to think about you when you don't have a body anymore? And so I really look at like all the propaganda that people function from and buy about the spirit world, propaganda from religion, propaganda from movies, propaganda from their parents, from their families. That's simply propaganda. It's actually not real and true, because when you actually start saying hello to the spirit world, you basically find a bunch of lost people and people who died on drugs and great beings of light and demons and nature spirits and people who want to care for you and gift to you and contribute. It's like so much. So everything that doesn't allow you to have that much, whether your mom wants you to or not, will you destroy it and create all this, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, and ants. There's a question, when you don't have a body, can't you just choose to go somewhere else? Yeah, of course you can, but you have to look at it's like how good are people at choosing in life? However intelligent or kind or mean or smart somebody is in life is pretty much what they're going to be like without a body too, because you don't die. Fact. In fact, you've had trillions of lifetimes. So everywhere you're pretending that you're the entity called whatever your name is. We all destroy it and uncreate it, please. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine. podpog shorts, boys and beyonds. So there's so much to learn and there's so much to get, and there's like a lot to unlearn about what it's like. Basically no one's ever been taught what's actually going on in the spirit world, and in fact you're encouraged like never to look at it. So most people are just like inept from lack of engagement. It's sort of like you've been told sex is bad all your life, so but then like when you have sex you're like, wait a second, that wasn't as bad as they told me it was gonna be. You know, or maybe for some of you guys, you were told sex was bad all your life, and then you had that so much as your point of view that sex was bad for you. But you have to start to look at what your reality is. And that's really the first thing that Gary started teaching me was he's like, okay, so like, what are you aware of? And once I got over trying to be normal, I had access to this incredible spirit kingdom that has gifted me in ways that I never realized was possible, and supports so many of us in ways that so many of us have been taught to resist. And I would love to have a world where all beings were included and not judged. So yeah, okay. So I'm just looking at some of the questions that you guys are writing in over here. Actually, I don't see any other questions besides that one about when people die, can't they just choose to do something else? So let's do this. So actually, what do you guys want to do? If you want to ask some questions, no stupid questions. Oh, someone's like, I love you, Shannon. Thank you very much. If you guys want to ask any questions, no stupid questions. I'm here for you guys. I get that this is an exciting topic, but really maybe sometimes a weird and confusing one. So I really would love to get where you guys want to go. We've got another half an hour. I gave myself a big fat 1 hour chunk amongst the sea of facilitators. So I'm really here for you guys. I wonder what you guys want to know, and what will make your lives easier. Please. Okay, here's a question. Do you assist them to make it to the other side? Well, there isn't really another side. That's the thing. Entities are all around. Like, we live in the same world as them. We just pretend like we don't. There isn't another side. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, we just use barriers to pretend like we're like there's not spirits all around. There's more disembodied beings on the planet than there are embodied beings. So I'm just going to slightly rephrase your question. She says, do you assist them to make it to the other side? I'm a facilitator, and I facilitate. So I'm not assisting, I'm facilitating, meaning the entity is going to make the choice. And if I'm facilitating you to choose whatever you want to choose. And that's how the entity clearing questions work in Talk to the Entities and Access Consciousness, which, by the way, those clearing questions are ones that Gary developed. Who are you? Who were you before that? Who were you before that? Who were you all before that? Who will you all be in the future? What are you? What were you before that? What were you all before that? What were you all before that? What will you all be in the future? And what is your job? What was your job before that? What was your job before that? And will your job be in the future? Those are the three main basic fundamental entity clearing questions that we use that Gary developed, and they are how you facilitate entities to choose, because you're basically asking them, who are you? And they're like, I'm Shannon O'Hara. And then you're like, who were you before that? And it gets them to look at their last lifetime. Oh, and who are you before that? Oh, and then it gets them to look at they had another lifetime. And who will you be in the future is the question that gets them to recognize that they have a choice and they don't have to be stuck in the identity and entity that they are currently stuck in. And that's what goes on a lot of the time. It's of this weird phenomenon where we tend to think that like entities are like smarter than we are or more powerful or omnipotent or something. I'm not really sure where that rumor got started, but it's like so not true. There are so many people that are so unconscious that when they die, they're still unconscious. So there's a lot of beings walking around without bodies who don't even realize they don't have a body anymore. And so there's that kind of an entity that's like unconscious. And then there's also the beings who hang around because like they feel incomplete with something, or they want to tell someone they love them before they go, or they need to accomplish something before they go. All of which can be facilitated quite easily. So yeah, I mean, I facilitate them to make another choice. However, I will state this. I only deal with entities when it makes my life easier and when I'm getting paid for it. And I wanted to clarify this because many people think that once they start talking to entities or start being aware and open up the door to entities, that it's like a 24/7 overwhelming flood of information and constant work, which it can be initially because you're like out of shape, but it is not something, it's like you always have a choice. And having a choice is different than resisting, because resisting doesn't actually accomplish anything. It doesn't achieve anything except you being at the effect of and never really getting to deal with what needs to be dealt with. So my point is, I don't really care if entities are around as long as they're not bothering me or making my life more difficult. For example, my husband and I were just staying in Big Sur, California, which sort of has like a history of like being like a really like alternative place, and like a lot of like hippies were living there in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like crazy people just like living up in the mountains in cabins. And artists and stuff. And we stayed in this like really like bohemian, sort of like interesting, hand-built like mountain cabin. And at first when I got there, I was like, this is so cool. Like it's so beautiful and nature all around and the redwoods. And but we were both like, this is cool, but something feels weird here. And we stayed there for, I think we were even there for 4 nights. And by the 4th night, I was like, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. And I did not like it there anymore, but I couldn't really place what was going on. And I asked a tons of questions, and I like ran a lot of processes, and nothing really changed it. Anyways, we left today, and about, I don't know, somewhere in the car ride over a 3-hour period, it like clicked that the man who had built the cabin, the woman who showed us around the cabin when we got there had made reference to Mary's deceased husband. And Mary was the one who was renting out the cabin. So Mary's deceased husband, she just made a quick reference to him, and we went on to the next thing. But I realized that he was still hanging around the cabin, and he had been a drug addict. And as soon as I realized that, it was like all my charge came off the cabin. It was like I no longer was stuck in how weird it felt there. I knew what was going on. And you would think, since I'm like an entity master and I've been facilitating entities for so long and empowered so many people to do so, that like I would get it like instantaneously. And for whatever reason, like I couldn't get that actually until after the fact, but at least I got it. And so if I had realized that when I was staying there, I would have cleared the drugs and alcohol from him, because that's what you have to do with people who die on drugs or alcohol. You have to destroy and uncreate all the drugs and alcohol, right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, PUD, PUC, shorts, boys, mans, because you can't actually deal with an entity who's like on drugs still. Like really, literally, you'll feel like there's no communication. And I think that's a lot of reason why I didn't actually get what was going on, because he was so unconscious that he wasn't really talking to me like a normal entity. Like when a normal entity says hello to me, I like get it. But when a drug entity is there, it can be a lot less clear. So if I had realized this when I was there, I would have used the tools that we have in the Talk to the Entities beginning for clearing drug and alcohol entities. And then I would have like basically gotten him to go and cleared him. And that would have made my life a lot easier. And then so I only deal with entities when it makes my life easier and when I'm getting paid for it. It's not something that I see as my responsibility, because I have billions of entities who want to come to me all the time just because I can hear them. And I'm like, you know what? Like, if you're not going to pay me and if you're not going to listen to me, I'm not going to talk to you. So I have a choice And I'm very good at organizing the entities, and I am also very good at being the boss of the entities, because sometimes entities can be very rude and like people. So I just wanted to state that for some reason. I guess somebody needed to know that. Okay. I see some questions about some stuff that I'm not going to get to. I'm just continuing reading through your guys' questions. Can I talk about the spirits of nature? I would love to. Every orchid has its own insect that pollinates it. So, like literally, fact. Every single orchid, and I think there's like thousands of species of orchids, and it has its own individual unique insect that pollinates it. And the insect looks like exactly like the orchid. It's like fascinating. You should go Google it if you guys are interested. And every natural species, tree, shrubbery, flower, mountain, river, ocean, etc., is stewarded by natural spirits, beings that live and work with the energies of the earth. And our ancestors have known them through many different names, depending on the culture that we come from. And we are now currently living in an earth devastation time on our planet. And so we live disconnected from earth. Therefore, we not know the spirits of the earth. However, our back ancestors had to live in close connection with earth and knew the spirits of the earth, because they couldn't shut the door. They couldn't turn on the air conditioner. They couldn't turn on the heater. Their life depended on being aware. And so, sorry guys, the phone in my hotel room is ringing for some reason. And so as the trees are cut down and as the energy of the earth is disrupted and nature is ruined, the spirits of the earth go into extinction, just like the animals of the earth are going into extinction. And I'm sorry about the sad story. What energy can you contribute with your body to the earth? And what beings in the trees and the water can you receive? When you receive, when you acknowledge an entity, acknowledgement is the like receiving light. It's like it's like a step on the path to receiving. Receiving is the superpower. Acknowledgement is the exercise you do to build up your receiving superpower muscles. So every time you invalidate yourself when you're aware, for example, like when you're talking to your friend and their face keeps on changing and you think you're crazy, that's an invalidation of what you're aware of, because they might have a bunch of different entities talking through them. Or when you see like a figure in the door, or when you hear voices, or when you dream of a relative who's deceased, you're not making that up. That's actually happening. So when you invalidate it, it actually diminishes and weakens your muscles for perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. Every time you acknowledge, yes, I'm aware. Like, for example, the story I just told about that cabin in Big Sur and the drug addict guy who built it, who was still hanging around, very unconscious. I acknowledge that. And in that acknowledgement, my strength for awareness increases. Now someone's at the door. I think someone's coming to pick up my husband's shoes. So when you acknowledge a being, like imagine if everyone was ignoring you all the time and you were like trying to gift to them. In fact, how many gifts have you been trying to give that have been rejected? How do you like it when you're rejected? And so with the nature spirits, since everybody pretends like they don't exist anymore, they sort of like don't get to play. And that's how nature spirits thrive, is through playing. And so if you will receive and acknowledge when you see the glitter in the tree, when you see the light in the water, when you know they're there, you're not a fucking crazy person, you're an aware person. Relax. Enjoy. Don't think. Here's an interesting one. So if you are good at choosing in this life, you can just choose to not come back to this plane of existence. Well, that wasn't totally a question. I wish you'd put that into like a real question. How about this? If you were an infinite being, Aurelia, what would you choose? Okay. So there's a lot of questions coming in sort of like, I think about earlier things that I've said, so I'm going to have to jump around a little. Are there tips and tricks that you can give with what can feel like panic or intensity with awareness of entities? Yes, great question. It only feels like panic and intensity because you're, number one, out of shape. Number two, because there's something you're not acknowledging. As soon as you acknowledge what's going on, there will be peace. So you know you've gotten the right thing when all of a sudden there's like peace and space. So with entities, the thing that there's like this phenomenon where like even after people do the Talk to the Entities beginning class, they don't actually like clear and communicate with entities. But you actually have to use the tools and get to work for this to really work for you. I actually can't scroll back to see the questions. Why is that? Oh no, I can. No, I can't. I lost that question. I don't remember what she asked. I guess like, who gives a shit if it's intense? But I don't remember what the question was, and now I can't find it again. Yeah, see, mine gets stuck. So there's another one on this theme. Why being aware of demons makes my head really hurt? Because you're resisting being aware. Duh. Nothing needs to hurt. How much pain, suffering, intensity, trauma, and drama are you using to prove that you're aware? Rather than having the feather touch that awareness can be. Would you believe it if it was easy? Or does it need to be hard to be real? Someone asks a question, are entities aware they don't have a body? Some of them are, some of them aren't. Someone's asking, and they go where? That's actually a really interesting question. Some get another body, some go to other planets, some just become space. Infinite energy, as we all are. Once you, okay, if you think about it right now, like, think about the identity that you think you are, your name, your gender, your nationality, etc. When your body dies, is that who you are? Or are you infinite energy without definition? And if you had no definition, what could you choose? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you please destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. What would be the, I'm reading another question. What would be the best advice for someone close who has this ability? Do they want advice? I mean, I would not give advice unless someone's asking. And if they are asking, I would get them a copy of my book. Okay, cool. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading some more of these questions. It's interesting. I usually can see shapes of animals or humans in things like chairs, wood, art, stone, and in the sky. Are they entities that appear to be facilitated? Victor, you have to ask. So one of the really important, most easy tools for dealing with entities is you first have to ask, like, is this an entity? And then you'll know. This is a cool question. If we all keep our personalities when we don't have bodies, how do we get our personalities in the first place? Well, I would say that, like, I'm not saying that, like, we all keep our personalities, but a lot of the time people don't really change when their bodies die. That's what I see a lot of the time happening. But sometimes people do change. That being said, where do we get our personalities? We get our personalities by duplicating our family. We get our personalities by decisions and stuff that we created in past lifetimes. And we get our personalities because we are essentially who we are. So the less sort of like decision, judgment, conclusion that you have, the more your natural essence, the expression of your being exists. The more judgments of yourself you have, the less your natural essence exists. Your personality comes from the choices that you make. And oftentimes, scarily, because we duplicate and copy the people around us. Cool. Someone's asking, Shannon, when do you come to Brazil to do a class and talk to the entities? That's a really good question. I would love to do a Spirits of the Earth class in Brazil, actually. Every time I try to come to Brazil to do a Talk to the Entities class, I can't come. Like last time I tried to come, I couldn't get in because of a visa problem. So I'm doing Talk to the Entities in Mexico City in March 2020. So if you want to come and have some amazing tacos, come to Mexico City or join us online or something. And I get Brazil has a huge demand, and I'm grateful, and I'm willing to come, and I'd love to create some more great stuff in Brazil. Sorry, I'm just going through tons more of these questions, seeing what actually applies right now. Also, I mean, you guys get like that we can't really dive into everything as extensively as required here in the time that we have, but that you should definitely go to a Talk to the Entities introduction and beginning class. Like, we've got facilitators. I mean, I think that we all together speak over 70 languages. So it's like language should not be an issue, and money should also not be an issue, because I'm sure if you ask for the money to show up, you might just have a friendly entity help you out. So this one about, are there any tips and tricks for when you feel panic or intensity with entities? My attention keeps getting really drawn there. So what I would suggest, my tip would be to ask what you're aware of and push your barriers down. Like, you really need to push your barriers down. And maybe panic and intensity is like an entity awareness sign. I used to have paranoia when entities were around, and I thought I was just like fucked up all my life. And then, and this is actually a story in my book. I was at a party in Australia a lot of years ago, and it was on a golf course. The party was at a golf course, and the road the golf course is on was called Murdering Creek Road. And this is where there had been like huge like Aboriginal massacres. And I don't even know why they would leave the road named that, but they totally did. And anyways, so I was at this party, and like as the night was going on, I was getting weirder and weirder and more paranoid and more paranoid, and I felt like everybody hated me, and like I could not get comfortable no matter what I did. No matter how much I drank, no matter how much I tried to be friendly, I like was fucking weird. And like super paranoid. Like paranoid that everybody hated me. That's what I was always paranoid about. Like everybody hates me. Like the sky is falling. And so I finally decided I was just going to leave because like I like couldn't enjoy myself. And as I was walking out the door, a acquaintance of mine walks by, and she jokingly says to me in like an Aboriginal Australian accent, like, want to come outside for a cigarette? And I didn't smoke at the time, but I knew I was going to go with them. So I went with them, and it was like 3 ladies, and they were smoking, and I was sitting on the curb out in the parking lot. And all of a sudden I became aware of like about 75 Aboriginal spirits standing there looking right at me. And I was like, hello, hi. And I said hi to them. And I was like, you guys can all go. That was like my initial response, was like to tell them they could leave. And they just all turned around and walked away. And my paranoia completely vanished. And that was the last time I ever didn't acknowledge what that paranoia was, because up to that point I had been paranoid, socially paranoid all my life, and I thought I was fucked up, but it wasn't actually me being fucked up. It was me being aware of entities. So whenever I would have that very specific feeling of paranoia, it's always entities. So that's why you have to get very clear and honest with yourself about what your entity awareness signs and signals are, like a headache, like panic. But don't get all fucking drama into it. Just be like, there's an entity awareness signal. Cool. Okay, are there entities around? Who's trying to talk to me? And get out your toolbox. And if you don't have your toolbox of clearing, communicating, and receiving from entities, that's where the beginning class is going to come in handy. And I mean, I've said the entity clearings on here even, so you could just go back, re-listen to this, write them down, and use them. So that's a free tool. And like we're constantly giving away free shit. Like I am like really want everyone to have the tools to make their lives easier. So we have tons of free resources. If you guys, I've got a free membership that's called free membership that's open for another week. I'm closing it down and I'm changing some stuff, and I'm going to reopen it as something different soon. But in there is a free Talk to the Entities class, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Like there's a couple of body classes and like some cool videos on perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. And you should get it, because then you get like a Talk to the Entities class too, like a free one. And I think I like have other stuff like on YouTube, like there's a free introduction, like there's a bunch of stuff, like it's everywhere. So you just need to use your tools and get to work. That's the thing. When you notice you're having an entity awareness sign, like don't stop there. Like that means you actually have to get to work and do something about it. Sorry, you have to actually get to work and do something about it. You can't be a lazy, dramatic person. So there's some really cool questions that came in. Here's one I'll address. So sometimes it's hard to differentiate between sensations that are mine and those that are from others. What could help this so that it isn't an overwhelming? Would an infinite being be overwhelmed? Could an infinite being be overwhelmed? And I tell you what, like I thought I was overwhelmed a lot in my life, and my dad would always be like, stop it. Would an infinite being be overwhelmed? And every time I recognized, no, an infinite being would not be overwhelmed. And then I would step up and become greater. So, Caroline, would an infinite being be overwhelmed, my friend? Nope. So what finite pile of shit do you believe you are that allows you to be at the effect of and impacted by other people's insanities? And will you destroy and create all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9, POD, shorts, boys, and men. However, this does bring me to the statement that awareness is actually easier than resisting it. It's just that none of you guys have a reference point for what awareness is. And as soon as you like open up to how aware you are, you're not really met with a world that's supporting that awareness in you. but I'm here to support that awareness in you. And please recognize that like awareness isn't bad, and being more aware than others is a gift, not something to be pushed away. Okay. So I'm not really sure how much more we have. I'm not really sure how much more we have time for right now, because there's such incredible stuff in here that there's some bigger conversations in here too. And I hope you guys have seen met some of the Talk to the Entities facilitators that have already been on. There's going to be more on till midnight California time, so this is just going to keep on rolling. And all of these videos will be available later as well after the fact, so you guys can go and, you know, have a big binge of Talk to the Entities educational Facebook Lives, and hopefully create something easier for all of you. And I get that this topic of awareness and entities seems like this big, massive, weird, uninformed universe, but I really, please hear me, you already know. You know you're not inept. Your being is capable. If you ask a question, the universe will show you how. If you relax, you will receive more. It is your point of view that creates how you experience reality. Now is the time to come out of being at the effect and start affecting reality. And I thank you guys so much for being here. I can't wait to create a more conscious world with all of you. Please get that you're worth trusting. You're not wrong for being aware. Have the strength of what you know, even if it's not a popular place to function from, and especially if you want to believe you're wrong. I know you're not. What gift can your life be? Okay. Thank you guys all so much. Stick around till midnight California time for more Facebook Lives. And how does it get better than this, you guys? Thank you all so much. Bye.